Hello, welcome to Guitar Hunter Live. Let me turn this off and have somebody do. You know this guy.
Hey.
What's your deal? Who are you?
My name is Vinny.
Vinny. I call Vinny Vance. Hang on, can we say your real name? Or is
Vincent.
But is it, no, what's the, grandpa calls you?
Vicenzo.
Vicenzo. Dude, if I was something cool
so
like that.
Italian.
Yeah, you do,
yeah.
you know.
My granddad does, and so does my mom, I promise. But I look like my dad, so.
Yeah. All right. Here, skim through some comments. I'm going to fix the camera.
Okay. Thank you for turning that noise on.
There you go. The noise? Come on. Okay, I try to pick different songs each day. So Alden is here. Alden, hey, buddy. Alden says thumbs up. Alden's always a good dude for trying to get more subscribers. Hey, also, let's talk about this. I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. This is Guitar Hunter Live. We are coming to you from the brand new space for Hometown Music.
Oh, yeah.
There is no air conditioning over here, so we have a fan over there.
It's red in my face, probably.
I'm prepared to be sweaty. I'm coming in with... I can't hold both at one time. One on deck.
Yeah. You've been doing this for a while, huh?
Yeah, there's no chance that I'm not going to, like...
I came in with no resources.
Well, you're only here for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
So anyway, we're hanging out. We're in the new Hometown Music spot. You're going to meet 3 people that work at Hometown Music. You've already met Vinny. Vinny is the freaking man.
Thank you.
Loves Telecasters.
I do.
Just got engaged.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Just living. The best life.
And I got paid today.
Hey, right before this, we both got a notification like, you got paid. Good guitars or good guitar stores sell guitars at all price levels that they can praise with honest information. That's true. I'm excited. So we're going to talk about like what are both like good and bad things when you come to a guitar shop. What are things that, you should catch that should tell you before you get in the door. Jeremy, for new guitars, do you have a direct experience with devices like the Tone Right for breaking in the soundboard? I do. I've used the Dr. Herringbone, and it definitely does something. Do you know what this is?
I've never heard of these.
So this thing, it's like a little, either a speaker or a little motor that vibrates the top of a guitar, and it's supposed to synthesize a guitar being played.
Oh, cool.
And it breaks a guitar in. So that's the story.
Okay.
And I left one on my guitar in Nashville for a week, and it came back and it sounded better than it did. But, it's a little, it's like, you're like, yeah, it works, right? Right? Like,
yeah. It's
hard to find like a definitive thing.
One of those like no substitute for just playing it and letting it open kind of thing. JD, glad you're here, man. Hello from Philly, Mr. Daniel. Thank you for turning off that noise. Take it back, Joshua. Just because if you play a song with a woman singing. Nope, I'm not going to say it. Nope.
Hey! Hey, Jeremy and Vincenzo. Finally a paisan on the show. The gabagool. New space looks great. Can't wait for your AC to work. Me too.
Yeah, that would be a nice touch.
Yeah. Man, this shot came together. I'm looking at the camera here. Joshua says, I'm old. All unfamiliar music is noise now. It will happen to you one day. That reminds me of that the grandpa from The Simpsons. Like, I used to be hip, and then they changed what hip was, and now what I'm with isn't.
Me and
and I'm scared and alone.
Me and my friend Ryan, who's one of the best bass and guitar players I've ever met, but he calls it, like, jokingly plays that old man character and is like, I don't like that bleep bloop music and like if he hears anything, but funny. Dude, because seriously, that's what he makes. But yeah, cool.
Well, let's get into it. So each 20 minutes, so the first 20 minutes, Vinny's going to hang out, then he's going to go sling some guitars. Mark is here. It's funny. So right back here behind you guys, there's 3 windows that we can see into the other space. And so Chuck is checking somebody out at the front counter. Sydney's over there. Sydney! She doesn't see us.
Nope.
And then we can see the electric guitars on the front wall. But we're going to hang out. We're going to talk about just like what makes, if you're getting out of a car and you're like in a new town, showing up to a guitar shop, what are the things you're like, oh, good, and the things you're like, oh boy, when we go through these. So, the new space looks great. Forget about it.
Somehow you do that better than I do, and like,
dude, one of the weird ones I can do. Hey, it's Mark and Sydney. Sydney, come hang out. Mark's not going to come. No. But, so we're going to talk about red lights. Hang on. Red flags, green lights. We're mixing metaphors here. Green lights are like the good things. Like you see this, you're like, oh, I'm in. I'm excited about that. That's a big deal. Red flags are the things you're like, okay. So the trick is, don't live in a town with a shop that has too many red flags. Thankfully, we live in a town that has, like, we try to eliminate as many of the red flags as we can. So,
yes.
Yeah. So number one, a green light for me, if I pull up and it says used gear, or if the first thing I walk in, there's like some busted up, like 90s Korean Strat, I'm excited.
Okay, cool.
What's your take?
No, I think that's super cool. Like, variety in general. So like used gear, like I feel like we try to have a good variety of stuff. That's kind of how I hear that.
Yeah.
Like just variety, or like some cool older stuff that might not be common other places. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the motivating factors of like, why is someone trying to buy a guitar? Having the options for like, hey, I don't need a pretty shiny brand new guitar, but I want a guitar that I'm not going to lose money on, or I want a guitar that I can, get for my nephew or something. So yeah. All right. A red light for me is when I walk into a shop. This is kind of the opposite of this, the contrapositive. Is like
vocabulary. Sorry.
That's from math. That's like, or it's from like logic. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So for me, like if I go to a shop and it's only new stuff, it immediately makes me feel like I'm just like in a grocery store or like
Best Buy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, fine. Like everything's here. You'll be about the same price as everything else. If you don't have a thing that I want here, you're going to tell me you can order it. And I have to be careful because, I mean, we have said these same things. Like we're kind of in that same spot when somebody's like, I like this new guitar you sell, but do you have a different color? But yeah, we'll talk about this when John comes and hangs out in a couple minutes. John used to work for, what's that place called? Music and Arts. And I'm just like, it's just, yeah, it feels corporate when you only have new stuff.
And because I feel like in that, on that note, the only new stuff thing is like, you might find some cool stuff that you haven't seen before, but you're not going to find, there's not that hope of finding this like really kind of obscure, like this really good deal on something or this. Like,
I think you have to kind of know what you're into. And then you're just going to go in there and look for like, I like Strats. And it, you go to like, well, it's the same player Strat I've seen at Guitar Center or whatever. To me, I think used shops, like shops that have a mix, you get to where you have something for everybody, but you also have people like, if they don't know what they're into, they can try new stuff. So that's where like, yeah, it's as soon as I see a sign that says buy, sell, trade, like I'm going to go hang out. Even though I'm not much of a trader, I don't like trading. I think it's hard to get apples to apples. Yeah. I
agree.
So you grew up in Roanoke. If you don't know, Roanoke is what, like, I mean, it's Southern Virginia, or it's kind of the start of like.
Yeah, I was going to say from here, but then I remembered that we might be the only ones from here on this, so that doesn't really make sense because it's like an hour 45 from here straight down 81.
But you got like Kelly's and the Fret Mill. Fret Mill is like almost all new stuff.
For the most part, there's some consignment stuff. I would say they're like how I always pictured it was, and they both sell both, and they've expanded inventory. But Fret Mill is like the acoustic shop. Kelly's is the electric shop.
Okay.
Like, they sell a little bit of both, and I mean they both have like really cool of both. But like, chances are, if you're looking for that electric guitar, it's you're gonna have more options at Kelly's.
Kelly's, for better or worse, is like a straight up rock shop. Like it's just like old banners and like long haired guys still playing Metallica.
Carpet, something. There's no blank space on the wall anywhere.
Seriously.
The ceiling's low. It's very like, almost like dive bar-y of good guitar shops, but like not sketchy.
I did a video there, and then it's the only time I've ever had a card corrupt, and so I lost like almost all of the footage.
I'm sorry.
It sucks. It's like I have like the intro, and we walk in and we start doing stuff, and then in the middle of a sentence, it just like corrupted the file, and all the other files after that didn't work.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Let's see. So JD says the shop should have good guitars at all 3 levels of players or cash commitment. That's a really good point. So you've got like introductory level, like under $200, $250, under $700 for intermediate. Or where would you put intermediate? Maybe up to 1,000.
Yeah, that's hard because, like, the Eastman back there and the Masterworks, I feel like are really, really good guitars for how much money. Yeah,
$799. So we have an Alvarez. It's over on this side. It's an MD60. So it's the Hunter it's a Mahogany Dread. It's the Alvarez Masterworks. And with that, it's like full all solid guitar with an LR Baggs VTC for $800, which is it's a lot of guitar. Then I've got an Eastman. I try to not use the Gibson numbers.
It's E10 SSTC.
Oh, okay. I was talking about the middle one.
Yeah.
Anyway, P90 guitar back there. And then on the other side, we have a Tele Custom. But I would put intermediate at like up to $1,000 because you now have the Ventera. Like I would not call the Ventera a professional level guitar.
Right.
It's like a pretty Mexican guitar, which you certainly can. But I would still call that, like my brain is still sorting that as intermediate. And then you get into the American stuff being the pro level. Yeah, I like that. So Bulldogger JK just got an Eastman E10D SBTC. Let's break that down here in a second. Glad we were able to get Eastmans. I'll be chasing my Martins for a while. This thing is amazing and it's brand new. So the Eastman, the E10 would be from the traditional line. 10 would be Adirondack spruce with mahogany back and sides, and then the SB Sunburst, and then the Torrified top.
Yeah.
So that's a good guitar. That would be like $1,200 ish.
I think
12, 13 is what. Yeah, we have an E10 SS Sunburst, same guitar, but.
Oh, that one's.
Oh,
it's that one.
Yeah, it's that one. It's $1,349.
Yeah.
Unbelievable guitar. Like if you want like a Gibson-y slope shoulder thing, I think these are so good. We have an E6 out there that's Sitka, Torrified Sitka. That's great. Lots of places dissing new players. That's true. Let's talk about it. So we'll keep going. We got 5 more minutes before Vincenzo gets out of here. Did we do this? Okay, yeah, let's talk about buy, sell, trade. I get super happy when I see that. The next one is like when I see a full line dealer, and this is literally what we're talking about. So a full line dealer is like, hey, you sell Fender and Squier, and with that, you're going to have a representation of their line from like the Sonics. Like we have Sonics, Affinity, Classic Vibe, the Paranormal.
40th anniversary, that's kind of in that Classic Vibe, Paranormal price range.
Yep, and then you tick up into, we have Players. We kind of skip around in the Fender lines. We have the Players and the Ventera. We haven't done any Players Plus this year. We haven't done the Performer.
American Performers.
Yeah, the Performer is kind of like the Highway 1 from a while ago. But it's a big jump. It's like $1,350. And so for us, we've just said like, well, if someone's on the bubble between a $1,200 Ventera, let's just move them into an American Pro 2. But those are pricey now, $1,699.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like as soon as I see a full line dealer, same thing with like, it's hard to find small shops that sell Gibson anymore. Gibson is not interested in small shops. They want to be famous Guitar Center or Sam Ash, all those big places. But yeah, when you see like, you come in and you're like, all right, PRS is a good example. We are just an SE dealer. But there are shops that you'd come in and see like, all right, you can get the SE, you can get the S2, you could check out a CE, you get into a Core, 10 top, blah, 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 $15,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. PRS, I think.
I
PRS
shouldn't
is
say
the-
that's crazy. It's probably
That's a lot
worth
of money.
it to people, but like, that's so much more than I would can even fathom spending
Yeah.
on a guitar. So
And for us, like, just in some ways, we need to be like kind of aspirational for our customers. In other ways, like, our customers, they don't work in a guitar shop. They can afford. Some of them can afford.
that's
big
true.
boy
That's
guitars.
true. Yeah.
So that's a green light for me. I'm excited when I see a full line. And we'll talk about. There's more. I'll wander through this, but later on, one of the titles that I came up with was like, when you come into a shop and they have like, we sell Squires, and they have like one Mexican player, or they have one player Strat, and then everything below that is like they're really trying to sell you on classic vibe. And there are certain communities that you know, if your median income is couple $20,000, if you're still a guitar shop, that's
Yeah.
just running those numbers. How would that work in a town that's not affluent?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Red lights, gatekeeping employees. Do you have any examples of this? Have you ever done this to anybody?
No. I don't think so. I mean, well,
I'm
and
not
I
saying
know I
you
said
have.
this last time, and I know you say to be more confident in myself, but I'm not that good of a guitar player. I'm not really. So like, a lot of people that come in here are better than I am. So it would be like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what.
But it's not even because of that. Just like, don't be a jerk to people. This is fun.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's also like that's who you are. Like working in a guitar shop is one of the coolest things that I get to do. But I think it's hard when there are dudes that like they need it. They need to be the cool guitar guy in their town, and that's what really bums me out.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden you're competing against people that are coming into the shop, or you just want them to feel inferior to you. That's a thing. Like, that's why I think the old rock shops are dying. I think the idea of like, I've been playing in this town since before you were born.
Yeah.
Just that stuff, man. It leaves no place for anybody to join in.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So there's some gatekeeping. I know that for me, I was pretty rough on some customers when I was just young and dumb. Especially around Martins. Like, I had such a strong opinion about Martin guitars, and I would just be like, oh, it's pretty good for Taylor. Or like,
Yeah.
I would just use language that makes people feel bad for what they have compared to what I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to at least know it.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. All right.
We're all learning
Last one.
all together. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. And I think that the way guitar shops are forced to work in 2023, like if you have not changed your playbook on how you're going to sell your guitars and interact with people around you, you're like, I mean, shops are closing down. And yeah. So, all right. Do you have any thoughts on this? From the front, we'll hang on this. You'll answer. I'll answer. John can jump in.
Okay.
But yeah,
Like layaway, like that kind of thing?
not
Or
layaway
like-
per
or
se.
Not layaway, but like
Klarna.
you can pay it off in four easy payments of
Yeah, like
$346.
they have a stack of credit apps on the counter.
I don't like that personally. I used to work at a store, like a retail store, not guitar shop, but like they wanted us to push the store credit card like constantly, and I just I was like, I'm not going to do that. If I feel like someone wants that, I can help them with that, but I'm not going to bring it up to people. I don't think you should probably take my own advice sometimes, but I don't think you should buy things you can't afford, especially when it's guitars, because you should have some, but you don't need to. You shouldn't try to buy something that you can't afford and then be hurting after that. Or you can do that. I just don't want to push people to do that.
It's risky. I mean, so like when I sell a guitar, I want someone to have it forever. I want it to be a life-giving part of their world. And when you're pushing people to borrow money, especially when it's like, I mean, people can put it on a credit card. There are many ways that they could use debt, and as a retailer, you wouldn't even know it. But it's a different thing when all of a sudden you're like, we are incentivized. Like we have a company that we've kind of got a quote from, we're like, all right, what would it look like? And they're like, all right, your customer would pay an extra 7% up front. You get, I'm making up numbers. But they would pay a little more. We'd pay you a referral fee and a percentage for each guitar that you would get. So all of a sudden, like, it just becomes a revenue stream. Like, you're making extra money. And, I mean, believe it or not, like, in the guitar world, there's good margin. And that's how some guitar shops are still able to make it work. But I think when it's, like, at the front door, like, there's a shop in Alabama I used to go to that I really liked.
Roll Tide.
But, man, when they would, like, on their front door, they had, like, ask us about, financing.
Oh, yeah.
And it just bummed me out because then immediately that is also paired with like super intense. Like, you're going to buy that? Do you want to buy it? What would it take for you to buy it? I can give you a good deal. Like, oh, do you see the credit app? So,
yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
All right. John.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Vincento. So, I'll come back over to the comments. You're going to meet somebody you haven't met before. It's my friend John. John Hazelwood. John was putting down floors. Like, you kind of see these hardwood floors back behind us, or like vinyl floors.
Yeah.
Whew. Did you unsweat?
More or less. Still a little soaked pretty well through.
Yeah.
The whole doing that with the no AC is rough.
I know. Yeah.
So I also am looking forward to AC being in here.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Yeah.
This is John. Can you tell me a little bit about your story? Who you are, what you do?
Yeah.
What's your instrument?
Yeah. Primary instrument is saxophone. Went to college, studied music, went to Bridgewater College, and also studied at Texas Tech playing saxophone.
Gig 'em.
No, wrong one.
Go Aggies.
Nope. Wreck-em Tech.
That's what it is, Wreck-em?
Wreck-em Tech.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's guns,
Guns up.
not Longhorns.
Yeah.
Got it.
Not that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. They're very particular about that.
Well, that's one of those, like,
You have to be one.
I've paid enough attention to know some of them, but I also find it funny to just mess with people.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the first time I've made that joke when you say I went to Texas Tech. Gig 'em.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, man. Let's see.
Yeah.
So, people are talking about
Well, let's see.
Rackham Raiders.
Raider. See if anybody does.
Howdy,
that.
Hazelwood. Do you know Ryan Doval? He's here in town.
I do know Ryan Dover.
Ryan, I owe you some stuff. You want to give away, and I just haven't seen you around town. Yeah.
But yeah, so I studied music, and I've also spent a fair amount of time in music stores. I worked at and then eventually managed music and arts, and then I moved to Fox's Music in Falls Church, which is a brick and mortar mom and pop shop. It's been around for ages. Tons of sheet music. I haven't been up there in a while, but loved that store. And then I got married and I got 2 kids. My daughter just turned 8 today.
Hey!
Happy birthday!
So
I don't know if
fun.
she watches your stream, but
It'd be weird if she did.
it would be weird if she did.
We have
But yeah.
unboxed I've unboxed some toys,
Yeah.
but not in the same, Yeah.
But yeah, so I've done all that, and then I've came on here recently.
Yeah.
Going to be working as a lesson coordinator and helping run the shop and everything, and get lessons going. Once this is done, then we're working on the next project.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it's been super fun. Sydney's still just talking to us through the window. So John came on because we're starting lessons, because that's where, like, we're talking about, like, and you heard some of it, like, what makes a shop good, what makes a shop bad. I think for me, one of them is, like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in a guitar shop that makes beginners feel bad.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're not there yet, you'll never be there, you're not as cool as me, like, I missed my chance, whatever. And so that's where for us, like, we are, like, putting our heels down, like, hey, we're going to make a place. Like, we're trying to make an eddy that would protect, like, young guitar players to really, and young music makers.
Yeah.
To, like, take off, whether that's piano or drums or whatever they're trying to learn.
Yeah.
I said piano.
Or just new in general. It doesn't even have to be the young ones. It can be
Yeah, exactly.
older people who's like, I've always wanted to learn guitar and haven't done it yet. They can be easily intimidated coming in to a guitar shop if people are like, well, what do you want? You're an adult. You should know better.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then that's a really negative environment to have.
And people are just in a precarious spot.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where I think for us, like, being kind of proactive. So, other people are also saying, gig 'em, Aggie jokes.
Boo.
I remember I used to be in oil and gas, and I was in an oil refinery in, like, Baytown, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the bathroom, and it had a sign printed out above those, like, toilet seat protectors.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, Texas A&M diplomas, take one.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So good. So Terry says, again, good stores at least once a week. Let people, even if they bring their own acoustics, play guitars together in a circle.
Oh, that's a big thing that I want to do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I love it. I also think that you got to figure out when you're going to do it.
For sure.
I used to have a guitar shop, and it kind of drove me crazy because the tail was wagging the dog, and it was this group of old guys who all played vintage Martins, never bought anything from me, but they would come to my shop on a Friday afternoon was when they wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And so it was like the only time I really stood a chance of selling mini guitars. Mm-hmm. And there would be, I had a 400 square foot small shop, and there were 6 of them sitting there in a circle.
Yeah.
And they would come with their own guitars and their own strings, not buy anything, and then leave. And,
What I'm hoping to do is, have something that would be open to the public and everything, but have it be like jam session type situation for anybody who's taking lessons here, from the young kids to the people who really know what they're doing, and you can jam with each other, and it's like a very welcoming thing. And I know that's a way. Whenever I was first picking up playing jazz on saxophone, that was the biggest thing for me. Was you would just go out, there would be small groups and stuff, combos and stuff that would play, and then you go and bring your horn up there and try your best, and it's a safe spot where sometimes you're going to suck at it.
Yeah,
but that's a big learning thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing, and it's really comes down to it's building music community.
Yeah, and I think that's like the other thing is I've thought about, because I've been to hundreds of guitar shops. Is that true? I've probably been to hundreds of guitar shops.
I believe that.
It was my thing where I would go to every single one I could wherever I was in the country.
Mm-hmm. I try that. My wife doesn't let me. Apparently it's too dangerous.
Dangerous?
Yeah, I'll spend the money.
Oh, got it. Financially dangerous.
Financially dangerous.
I always have the... I have to fight the ego. Like, I definitely have some ego. And, it's kind of like that Ron Swanson walking into Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
I know more than you.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my brain normally goes.
Right.
And I used to be such a dick. I fight it. I'm working on it.
You're in recovery now.
But,
it's all right.
yeah. So, yeah, man. So, okay. There's other questions about the A&M football team. We'll not talk about that.
I don't know anything about them.
I forgot. I lost track of where we are. Pressure to finance. Do you want to talk about that? Do you have anything on that?
Well, I think it's pushy. I think you were touching on it there at the end.
Yeah.
Anything that's pushy. One of the things that I really like here compared to some other places I've been is that we don't even do commission, and anything that pushes you towards forcing stuff on people for the store's benefit isn't helping them as much.
Yeah.
And so like the financing stuff is similar situation.
For sure. It feels icky. Like everything about it. And I understand, like, I have strong opinions about, like, I don't have any credit cards. I don't use any debt. Like, I'm a cash business. But I think it's also, it's just, I've seen too many people, like, lose their dream guitars or lose guitars they love because they just have, like, those 12 months roll up, and all of a sudden they're at 34% interest.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh.
My whole side of that is just belief that it should be more of a relational thing with people where, if somebody can't afford their guitar but they really want to, let them come in and play it a while, and then eventually
or work with them where it's like, hey, like,
save up
we can do layaway.
Yeah.
Like, layaway, you pay no interest.
Yeah. That's
like,
great.
you're just going to commit, and you might lose your deposit if you can't, if you get to the end, but showboating employees. That's a big turnoff for me.
Yeah.
Does that happen in the saxophone world?
Oh, yeah.
Is anybody like, I'll show you?
Yeah, especially if you get into in academia in general, a lot of times it's, my freshman year of college, I went to Slovenia for the World Saxophone Congress.
That's awesome.
It was pretty awesome. It's a really nerdy thing to do, but it was pretty awesome. But like, I mean, it felt like everybody who went to go play horns, they were all just trying to play faster and better than the people next to them.
Slapping the valves.
It was all showboating.
Is that what's a cool phrase?
I don't know. Licking the reeds. I don't know.
That's good. I'm glad there is. I'm sure there is like bravado.
Oh yeah.
In sax playing, but yeah. Did you take your? Are you prepared to tell people about the costume you wear while playing saxophone on the internet?
The Santa Claus outfit?
No, the sax squatch.
Oh.
That's you.
We're not supposed to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Next one. All right. Okay.
Some might say that's just me in normal attire.
My brain. Okay. So a huge red light for me is when we get like you come into a shop and they start at like their top. The most expensive guitar in the shop is $500.
Yeah.
And just, okay. All right. We've made eye contact. I can't walk out immediately. I'll do a lap around. Yeah.
And you know, for some, that's an expensive guitar. For some. But if you're really trying to cater to everybody, it's not like you shouldn't have Squires.
Yeah.
And below. Like, have those. Just also have good stuff, too, so that it's this relationship thing where you're going to be able to support the musicians and stuff that come in through their whole lifetime as a musician. And if you're going to cut off what you got at a certain point, then, I mean, I'm not a big guitar person. Like, I play guitar, I love it, and I'm impressed with all the things I'm mostly like keyboards. And usually if I walk into a place and all they have are the little 64-key $100 keyboards, and then maybe they have a $200 keyboard, I'm not even going to waste my time looking at it. And having a range of things for as you progress and you want to experiment with other stuff, and being able to have that's huge. And if you don't, that feels more like they're just trying to push stuff out the door again.
Yeah, I don't want to like give people like a prompt. I don't want to set boundaries on them that they don't want to put on themselves. Like, I don't want, because I think if you're in that shop, people are gonna start changing the worldview around guitars, and they'll start saying stuff like, well, an American Strat really it's just the pickups are different. They're gonna talk you into value rather than like letting you decide, hey, like I can do a parts caster, like I got a player Strat, like and I could upgrade the pickups and like modify it and all that stuff. But yeah, cool. Let's see, we've got
You're doing all negative ones.
I know that. Well, this was like stream of consciousness as I made them. Yeah, we were out there kind of like. Sometimes I'm like, I make a video and I come up with the idea on like a Tuesday. It's like the 10 easiest mistakes when buying a guitar. And then Friday morning comes around, I'm like,
I only have 8.
No, I'm like, what are the 10 things? I haven't thought about it at all. So with this one, I came up with this idea last night, did the thumbnail, came here, took the photo in here yesterday. And then I was like, I'll figure it out. Right. And so this morning I was just asking around. So, yeah. Green lights for me are like people that want to make a deal without being pushy.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're just excited, like they're just happy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, cool, man, I love Telecasters. Hey, if you like Telecasters, check out this thing. It's used. I can give you a good deal. Like,
yeah,
I'm into that kind of language. Kind of walking people through the process.
Yeah, I think with the pushy thing, a big thing for me, and this easily makes a deal, fits into that, is the customer service. One of the things that I love is going into a store where they acknowledge that you're there.
Yep.
And are there to help, but they don't necessarily hover, because sometimes you just want to go in and jam. Sometimes that's all you want to do. And if they're pushy, then that's not great. But if you have a question, they're easily going to talk to you and are happy to help. And when they do talk, they know what they're talking about. That's a big one that makes a big difference for me.
I love it. So in the last couple weeks, I've used this line where I'm like, it has to read as funny, but it works. So like somebody will be like on the fence, and I can tell that they are trying to talk themselves into a guitar, and I can see them like on reverb, or like they call somebody and they talk about it. Like that's what this guy. I heard him talking to his wife about like, I really like it. It's a cool finish. And it's not like that one I used to have. It's a Sunburst, and so he came up and he just got picks. So it was like a $2 sale, and I was like, well, is there anything else I can talk you into? And he was like, actually, it's like, I'm kind of on the fence. And he asked me, he's like, should I buy that Strat? And I was like, well, yeah, what else do you have? Do you have and it just worked out. And then I literally closed the sale just from.
It's nice when they ask you if they should do it, right?
Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, my style is like,
let the guitar sell
I'm
themselves.
proactive, never pushy.
Yeah.
Like I'm in it. I'm excited with them. I'm like, but because the worst thing I want is, and it still happens no matter how careful we are. We'll get somebody that buys a guitar, and then a week later they're like, oh man,
no, I shouldn't
have bought this.
Yeah.
And we had somebody return a ukulele recently, and it was so dirty and grimy, and it was.
There
You ready?
it is.
Christopher's entered the chat. Yeah, cool. Well, let's see. Any other comments for John before he leaves? Hi, from Dry Hot, Montana. Hey, I have your Laprenzi. It's back here. It's right here. I didn't open it, Howard. Howard just bought this guitar.
Oh, his.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah. No, I could sell it to you, though.
No, my wife would be mad.
Yeah. But Christopher has entered the chat. Y'all are more than welcome to come and sit in on our monthly bluegrass jam in Brooksville, Florida.
A little too humid for me. I lived in Texas for a while. I came back here.
Yeah.
I like having all 4 seasons.
It's true. I noticed some leaves are starting to change here.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
But that's drought.
That's true. But
Cooler mornings are nice.
Patty Paystub says we had a shop in Ottawa that had all of their guitars advertised as 80% off all year round. Their stuff was garbage.
Fire
Huge
sale.
red flag.
It's like I see stuff on Facebook all the time that it's like, we're going out of business. And I swear they went out of business last year too.
So, yeah, it works the first time.
Yeah.
Like if you're big enough, like if we did a going out of business sale, we'd be like, oh my gosh, don't go out of business. And then if we hang around,
Come on.
Chris, should we do that? We shouldn't do. We're not going to.
We shouldn't. We're not doing that. Yeah.
But anyway, cool. Well, I'm glad you guys got to meet John. John's the man. And yeah, if you're around, if you want lessons, if you're in the valley, come talk to John. And yeah, man, thanks.
Yep.
Christopher Jackson, the king of microphone cables today, or guitar cables.
Yeah, today was guitar cables.
Chris has made they are the highest quality patch cables this side of the Mississippi.
It's an occupational hazard. It's for better or worse how I got started. Well, one of my first real jobs in the recording studio world was in tech, and they wouldn't let me do anything nice until I could prove I could make a really nice mic cable.
It's like when you have to scramble an egg for the chef.
Right. Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, cool. Well, so a beard is a requirement of the job, I assume.
It's not mandatory, but it's looked upon favorably.
Hold on. Steven doesn't have a beard, but Chuck has a goatee.
Chuck's got the goatee.
Sydney does not have a beard.
No, she does not.
But yeah, so you have the coffee cup that says "Respect the beard."
I do. It's absent. It should be right here, just in plain view.
Yeah, that's true. I've been hooked on Liquid Death, not a sponsor.
Just you?
No.
I feel like the entire shop is.
I know. Well, I was on it for a while, and they were.
Yeah.
I always felt bad because I'm like, it's $2 for water.
Yeah.
And then they started showing up, and now they are the refreshment of choice.
Yeah, I think we are single-handedly depleting the stock.
The gas station
the
down here.
Sheets just down the way.
They didn't have any the other day, and I'm sure it's because
it's because of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay. Daniel says, any suggestions for cleaning a moldy case? I got a free Martin from my wife the other day and has a moldy, gross case. It would be great if revived. It's an HPL Martin. Thoughts?
Ooh. Keep the guitar, burn the case?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like moldy in what way? Like, where is it moldy?
He's in Philly. So, not, but I would bet, so it's interesting. It's probably that guitar survived better because it's not made of wood other than the braces. So, like, the HPL helped it out.
Right.
But then the case, I would say, like, you can, like, hope and pray. You can either find someone that has an ozone machine. You can do baking soda. You can, those are my two main things.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out.
Yeah. And also just because, I mean, if it was wet enough in that case long enough that mold started to grow, I would just think, I don't have a good answer for you there. I'm sorry.
Lemon oil and sunshine is what Howard says.
Worth a shot?
Hey, just made it. Saw that J45 yet? I have not. We were doing some horse trading this morning, but the deal's not done yet. So if you want that 63 J45, it's on the website. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just on top of the case. Okay, well, I don't know. Leave it out in the sun for a bit if you can. I've been to his house. He doesn't have a place to put it out in the sun. So growing a beard takes patience, just like playing guitar. The two run hand in hand. It's true.
I was going to say, I think this is what happens after you don't shave for 20 years.
Well, that's what my dad has had a beard since 1971. So when No Shave November was a big deal, he'd be like that's for a bunch of amateurs. No Shave 1971. So. Yeah,
I mean, mine tends to get shorter in the summer. By the end of winter, I look kind of like I've been living in the woods for years.
Yeah, seriously. That's where I'm like, I've learned the trick of, like, don't go into winter with a long beard. Like, because by January, people are like, you doing okay? You need to see the sun? All right. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about best and worst. We're just kind of working through them. I think the last thing we talked about was full line dealers. I think we're here. Oh, hang on. We're somewhere in here. Sorry. Oh, I'm just ruining all of them.
It's a delightful preview of all the topics.
I know. So, a red light. When have you been pressured to buy something in a shop? Or when's the last time you pressured someone to buy?
Yeah, my feeling is that we're supposed to be here to help people find the thing that's right for them. Mm-hmm. Pressure. I'm not trying to make anybody buy something they're not open to or willing to buy. I certainly had situations where someone's kind of deadlocked on a couple of things, and it's one of those like, well, I'm happy to offer my opinion based on the conversations we've had, the things I've heard you play. I don't really know if that's pressure. We try to be a minimal pressure shop. None of our staff works on commission.
Yeah.
We're trying to remove the incentive to be pushy and overly salesy, in the hopes that, like, what we're doing is helping people find the guitar that is right for them.
Yeah. We just lead with excitement, which I think comes pretty naturally to both of us.
Well, I think we're generally excited about the things that we do, and I can say that about everybody else on the team. We all got into this because we love music. And we love connecting with people, and we love helping people find the right thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the thing. I certainly have felt, I guess my wife and I were on vacation at one point, and we walked into a shop, and you could definitely tell that there was this feeling that this person needed to put some money in the bank. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of like, You sure you don't want this? You want this? Yeah. There's a lot of push, a lot of, yeah. And, we ended up just leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, had it been more low key, who knows?
I know. I've been to, easily a couple hundred guitar shops. I used to go to every single one I could find.
Sure.
When I was in a sales gig.
Mm-hmm.
And my strategy is always I'm going to buy something. Like every guitar shop, I'm going to buy a set of strings. I'll buy something, a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is, it's more fun than a movie. Like I'll be here for an hour just poking around. But the shops I wouldn't buy stuff from were the ones that, if they came on so intense.
Right.
If they were like, I don't know if you've ever seen one this nice, but this Mexican telly, this actually, this one, it should have been an American standard, but and that's where I'm like, okay.
Sure. I feel like we've all played a Mexican Fender that we were like, oh, wow, that's surprisingly good. But yeah, that's, I don't know.
Yeah, when someone tells me they're like, well, this actually should have been the custom shop. I picked out the woods.
Right.
Okay, well, but it says Mexico. Yeah. So, oh man, here's the thing, and I'm so glad we don't do this, even on our expensive guitars. Now, we do have guitars that are harder to get to.
Yeah.
But it is a huge red flag to me when I go into a shop and it has those plastic things in front of the strings.
Yeah.
Or a sign that says, please F off.
Yeah. No, we say it, and it's not a joke. People probably at first think it's the way we say it is joking, but we'd like to tell people we're a please touch the merchandise establishment. I couldn't. I don't know. Yeah. I've been around and walked into a music store without the intention of buying something, but something caught my eye and I picked it up, and it was minimal stress, and somebody popped by at one point and said hey, do you have any questions about that? Mm-hmm. And after having a little time with it, said yeah, tell me a little more about and I've left with things that I had no intention of buying. So either that's don't be pushy, don't be pressured, but I think making the stuff available. Now, to your point, we don't hang the really expensive guitars where someone's 5-year-old can just grab them and beat on them.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to, unless something it's a specialty consignment or there's some real reason why it is, behind the counter and you need to ask to see it.
It's also our style is people can play anything they want in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just let you I'm not going to have you go to where I can't see you in the shop and then leave you alone for 30 minutes. I'll still be around.
Right.
And then we'll talk about it. We'll be hey, this Yari is so cool. Mm-hmm. And it's made of these woods and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things for me that gets me in this is if you do this, you're robbing people of the chance to have life-changing experiences with a guitar that they will then want to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's one of the things where even if we have something behind the counter and someone says hey, what is that? I will grab it and put it in their hands. My thing is when people come in, I kind of want them to play guitars that they have no interest in buying at the time, because I just want them to I want them to feel it. I want them to have played something they've never played before.
Seriously, it was a guitar shop in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and the guy let me play a D18, and it changed my life. Where I'm I did not know a guitar could sound that cool, feel like that. It could fill a room with sound. And it's, here I am 20 years later still chasing that same, so that's where I'm a 14-year-old that plays Smoke on the Water. I'm hey, check this thing out.
Yep.
And, you let them play, for us, we've got some of the really nice, Eastman solid bodies that are just straight rock and roll. Try this.
Yeah.
Check this thing out.
Check this out.
And,
play this.
Yeah, I love that. And so to me, it's a big red flag. And probably if our tune might change if we'd ever get to where somebody would drop something or break something or scratch something.
Yeah, well, but there's also an element of that. Nobody wants that to happen. nobody that runs a shop wants, some multi-$1,000 instrument to hit the floor and shatter into a million pieces. And I'm not, please don't come over here and do that intentionally. With that being said, that's in a way part of I don't want to say that's the price of doing business, but like at a certain point you have to assume some level of things can happen. You can't prevent everything from happening, and my feeling is that we let a lot of different people play a lot of different instruments, even ones we know that they absolutely will not end up buying. But my feeling is that the net benefit of them getting the chance to play it outweighs the small risk that something might happen. And again, like you were saying, we're not going to just leave you. We'll leave you alone. We're not going to hover over you, but we're not going to. If I hand you a guitar and you immediately start like twirling through the store playing it,
I think by our delivery, where it's like, it's a special thing. I want you to experience this thing. I think like we communicate a lot, even in the nonverbal stuff. Of just like, this is special. This is exciting. Here's how it's made. Here's why it's so cool. And then it's like, what do you think? Do you like it? And you're in a conversation. You're not just like,
right. Yeah.
Here are the keys, drive around the block, don't do any burnouts,
Right.
I remember, I tried to take a car on a test drive when I was like 19. It was like a 5.0 Mustang. And they're like, I got to ride with you. I was like, oh, hold on. So, yeah. A lot of questions. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay.
Let's go through. Talking about Groons. Went into Groons looking for vintage Martins. He kept handing me $1,500 flamenco guitars. It was kind of weird. He was right. It was cool and something I wouldn't normally play. Okay, interesting. Groon is cool. Like they're good at like, do you want to fall in love with a Martin guitar or a Taylor guitar?
Right.
Like they're good at that, and they've got lots of space and all those couches.
Right.
Yeah.
Couches.
I know. We got this. We have two nice couches these days. Yes. Yeah. So Guitar Center, there behind Lock and Key. Yeah. It drives me nuts. I've never spent $1 with Guitar Center. I have no interest in it. They've reached out to me a couple times to have me come and do videos at certain like managers at different shops. I have zero interest. It's like do you want to make a video at Walmart? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean the Guitar Center thing as a whole is and this is challenging because I knew people, and I know people who have worked in some different Guitar Centers, and it's like you paint with a broad brush when you're just like all Guitar Centers are staffed with people that know nothing about the thing they're selling. So I won't go that far, but I will say that Guitar Centers, I think part of the reason that you have that lock and key mentality is in part because it is a big box thing.
Yeah, they're in a mall-ish, or like they're
in... so they're, and then I don't know, it's a totally different model. It's a massive box. It's how do we cram as much stuff in there as possible. I don't always know that the salespeople are always the most on top of it.
Guitar Center locks up $1,500 guitars that aren't in tune with 3-year-old strings and 2-inch action. He said that. We didn't say that.
That's true.
I read it.
You did read it.
But, yeah.
His words, your mouth.
So, okay. We'll keep working through these.
But I also don't know if I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, So that literally gets to the next one they talked about. Like a red flag for me is a guitar shop. You go in there, just have gross and unloved guitars.
Oh,
like, you have a bunch of old Samics, old Greg Bennett's. They have dead strings.
Yeah, or even even if the guitars are a little nicer, but the strings are absolutely dead. I mean, that's one of the other costs of doing business. That is the thing. If we are going to sell you guitars and we're going to have people play them and touch them and experience them. It's on us to make sure that, to the best of our abilities, that instrument is set up as well as it can be, that the strings on it, have life, and that this is a good representation of that instrument. Because if you're not doing that, I mean, one of the flip sides is you can make an absolutely great guitar undesirable by just letting it go.
Yeah. And so one of the skills that I've cultivated is like I can go in and find an old guitar and I will know what it'll sound like with new strings.
Sure.
But that's just thousands of reps.
That's just, that's
so that's where I think
of different guitars in your hands, having a sense of what will and won't work.
And knowing, like, I know what a D21 sounds like.
Sure.
And so it doesn't matter that it has dead strings. You can see through it. But for people that don't know, or just for the public, so, like, our crew, we have every day somebody goes through and does a spot check on... We do a thing where we keep track of, like, what tags are out of guitars at the end of a day. And so that way we know, like, hey, here's a guitar that no one played. Like, the tag's still tucked in the strings. And we're like, why didn't someone want to pick that up? Is it where it's in the store? Is it, and usually strings are toasts. It just doesn't look appealing.
Yeah. Or somebody passed over it, and you still pick it up and look at it, give it a once over, make sure it's in tune.
Yeah, and then we tune.
And then we go through, and, I mean, that's sort of one of those, if you work in a guitar shop and you're ever bored, you should be tuning guitars.
That's true. Yeah, the work's never done.
The work's never done.
So that's the same thing. It's like other ones are like disorganized shops. And I think there was a shop recently. Did you go over there? There was a shop that was going out of business close to us.
I didn't. I looked at the... No, we talked about this. Well, but this is a balance. I'm not disagreeing with you, but there is a balance there are some shops that are inherently cool, and it's kind of like they're cool in there's something everywhere sort of way.
Yeah.
Stuff is smashed in an interesting way, and despite the fact that there's a ton of stuff in there is some logic to it. At least the staff definitely knows where everything is. And then there are just some places that are haphazard. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, that's what... there's a shop I love in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And it's like you go in there and it's literally like, hey, do you have any... And you'll ask for something like, hang on one sec. And he's literally moving like his own like electric bills and stacks of mail. And it's this kind of tiny shop. And he has cool stuff and he knows where stuff is. But it's just... It is pretty like overwhelming how disorienting a disorganized shop can be.
Yeah, I don't think that should necessarily be the norm.
Because I think a green light is like what you're talking about, like a time capsule.
Right. Yeah. Like you go in there, it smells like music, which is a unique smell that I'm not going to try to.
But it's like old. It's like some of the trade fixtures from like old time, where it's like, oh, you have these like super cool black diamond string boxes that are, they were stock that never got sold, and now they're just like wall art and decorations, or like those old promotional posters. Like the shop I used to work in here in Harrisonburg, he was a Fender dealer in the 70s when they did all of these cool like. It was like animals turning into instruments. So it's like a gorilla, and as you look at its chest is like a quad 6 bass.
I remember that.
Yeah, and like just cool, so all those like trade fixture-y things. Those are cool. Like I want to hang out in a shop that's like, what you sent me that, it's Hank, whatever his name is, that like, I don't want minimalism. I hate minimalism. I want to live in a house where it looks like I'm a wizard with all the trappings of my journeys. Yeah. So, okay, we're going to blast through the last
cat's
couple.
Out of the bag. I spend a little too much time sending Jeremy Instagram memes.
It's one of my favorite, like, things these days. Okay. My brain shifted to, like, who's working in these shops, and I'm very thankful we don't have these guys. But there are a lot of, like, old rock guitar shops have this guy. I missed my chance. I'm telling you, if I would have gotten that tape on the radio in '88, Metallica would have signed me to open for them. Like it's just such a bummer when people are like hung up on themselves and that they missed their chance.
Yeah. Or they had their super I don't know. I'm trying to be nice about this, or they had their 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
And they're making sure that everyone relives it for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe that's just a personality thing, but.
And it was like a cultural moment. Whoa, my voice cracked again. But yeah, it was this like moment in the 80s or 90s that there was so much pressure to be a rock star.
Sure.
And if you weren't a rock star, you didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big, that's the messaging that we're in a different space and time and set of convictions that lead to, I don't care if my customers, I don't care if I become a guitar hero. I don't want to be a guitar god. I want to play music every day of my life. Like right now, it's like, I make up little soundtracks for my kids when they're getting their shoes on in the morning because I've got a guitar in the living room and I can just pick it up and follow them around and just add music to their life. That's super satisfying and meaningful to me. But I think for those dudes,
that's a fantastic mental image. You just walking around.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time you wake up from a nap, I'll do it to you. That's weird. Okay. This is the other kind of the more toxic version of that. The dudes are like, the scene sucks now. Nobody knows all that bleep bloop music. That's what somebody said in the shop the other day. I don't like that bleep bloop music that people are making with all the computers.
It's what, the tale as old as time, right? Your parents' music was lame. Your stuff is awesome. The new generation's stuff is awful. And that's just man, stuff changes. Things come in and out of style. Things come in and out of trends. Trends come in and out of style.
If you don't believe that, look at your own Facebook posts from 2005.
Yeah, man. That was a mental train wreck, that pair of sentences. But yeah, that's stuff changes. What is in now some things will prove to be timeless and will kind of continue to march on, and even those will get reincorporated into new things. But yeah, music is fundamentally art and a form of expression. So that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like everything that comes out, but just because you don't like something doesn't inherently make it bad.
Yeah. That's the Patton Oswalt. There are two quotes I'm torn between. There's a Patton Oswalt quote or a Mark Twain quote. I'll say both quickly. Patton Oswalt said, when I was a teenager, there was music I loved and music I would argue about. And now there is music I love and music I don't care about.
Sure.
And I feel like that's it's your own personal journey.
Yeah.
Of my identity doesn't change if you like,
right.
Whatever band, Daughtry, whatever band. The next quote is Mark Twain.
Shout out to Brian Craddock.
Seriously. I like this. So Mark Twain had a quote that said, I left home at 16 because my father was insufferable. When I returned at 21, I was amazed at how much that old man had learned.
That is one of my personal favorites, and
that's a paraphrase. It's close.
It is, yeah. But my father told me that quote at one point, and I laughed about it then, and I can't wait for when it's relevant for my son.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one of those things that it gets me. Green lights for me, freebies and deal makers, where it's hey, let's make a deal. Hey, you want a free strap? How are you? And they just ask those questions about your experience going forward.
Yeah.
That's a pretty easy one.
Well, and it also just sort of shows that, people are willing to, try and meet you somewhere, and
they want to add value and make sure the experience is good.
Probably should have looked at the comments again.
I know there's a bunch of them.
Oh boy.
I guess I missed my chance as a roadie for Priest in '81. That's true. Terry bought a rare D16 Americana. So it's a D16, but it has Sycamore back and sides.
Cool.
Got it from Guitar Center without the case. The kid shipped it to him without a case. Hoi. Not great. Mike Palmieri says, Drives me crazy when you go into a shop and employees are sitting around BSing with each other and all the guitars are out of tune and have dead strings.
Oh, yeah, and that would bum me out, too.
Yeah, man. Especially for us, like, as managers of the shop. You're like, what? Come on.
Yeah, which isn't to say that, you know, it's like when... Like, if I go into a shop and it's a well-run shop and, you know, people are sitting around talking and chatting amongst themselves and about music, that doesn't inherently bother me. If you go into a shop and they're sitting around doing that and they don't engage with you in any way, that bums me out.
Yeah, me too.
There is that line between not being pushy, not being overly aggressive, but then, like caring.
Yeah.
Giving a
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, one thing I go back and forth on is like, should we, as guitar shop employees, play guitar in front of customers? If the customer comes in and we're playing guitar, I go back and forth on this. I think you have to be really careful. None of us are like, Steven is the best guitar player of all of us.
Sure.
He's like a shreddy prog metal guy.
Yeah,
but he doesn't play
chops.
He doesn't play guitar in a way that people would be like, "Oh my gosh, I suck. I should never try."
Yeah.
But I think that we have to remind ourselves. So recently, somebody was trying to figure out if a guitar and amp were right for them, and he was like, "It doesn't sound good when I play it. Can you play it?" And then I played, and he's like, "Whoa, it sounds amazing. I want to buy that guitar." And I just felt in that moment this like, okay, like, I'm not a great player, but I was doing things that you don't know how to do yet. Palm muting, arpeggios.
Coming from a different perspective, though. So, I mean, for me, that comes down to if you're working in a guitar shop, I don't know, unless you're working in a guitar shop in LA and you're just hoping that, like, the guy who's going to hear you and be like, that's the thing I've been missing.
To sign you.
If that even happens anymore. My feeling is like, and this is my personal opinion as a guy running a guitar shop, we're not auditioning for a gig for anybody. It's not our job to impress people with our playing. Again, we are helping people find the right instruments, amps, accessories, for them. If as part of that, they want to hear it played or they want to hear it demoed or they don't feel like, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they should know right ahead that if I'm playing it, it's not going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. It's an interesting, because there are new guys that are still using the old playbook, there are certain big guitar YouTube channels that they have, like guitar retailers.
Sure.
And they are getting these, there's two guys I think of that are 19 to 22, and their whole thing is just they are screaming, fast, shreddy guitar players. And it's just it's like a reincarnation of that kind of guitar shop, that kind of employee is still there. The guys that are you need to be a guitar god, and, that's just not my vibe, but still out there. But anyway, cool. Well, it's 3:11 and we went, hey, Amber in the car. All right. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for hanging out.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So we have a new retail space.
We do.
We are in here very, very soon. Oh, Gabe just walked in. Gabe Steelman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to go hang out with him. He was on the channel a while ago. He's an amazing guitar player and drummer and does a whole bunch of stuff.
Known him for a very long time.
He used to play drums when he was in middle school with my roommate. They would do drum lessons at the Toolbox.
Yeah.
So, cool. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Jeremy. This is Chris. And this is Hometown Music. So, thanks for hanging out. Bye.